Socy Dark Talks is back. If you are still fantasizing about a beautiful romance on Tinder, these stories that follow will help you wake up from your dream. Story 1. The Proposal of Peril, Professor's Dark Plans. My name is Selena, an international student studying at an Ivy League university in the US. I accidentally discovered that my professor, a highly respected academic with a seemingly happy family, was using Tinder. Out of curiosity and a sense of adventure, I initiated a conversation with him through the app. Unexpectedly, he proposed a deal. If I agreed to date him, he would help boost my grades. Naive and young, I agreed. What started as a harmless adventure turned into regular dinner dates and time spent together. However, as my graduation neared, the professor shockingly proposed to me. I panicked and refused, as I had never considered our relationship to be that serious. But the story didn't end there. He revealed a terrifying plan. He intended to kill his wife during an upcoming vacation so we could be together openly. Chilled to the bone, I asked for time to think, but I knew what I had to do. Immediately after graduation, I fled without saying goodbye, returned to Vietnam, and tried to erase all contact with him. A year passed, and I thought I was safe. But one day, while browsing Instagram, I saw a photo of the professor with his children and a woman who wasn't his familiar wife. Frightened, I secretly monitored his profile and discovered the horrifying truth. His wife had died on a trip shortly after I left him. This story is not over. I know I am still not safe. Despite escaping, the shadow of the past continues to haunt me every moment. The traumatic event left a deep scar. I frequently experience nightmares where I see the professor's scheming eyes. One day, while sitting in a cafe in Hanoi, I overheard a group of foreign tourists talking about the university I'd attended. They mentioned the professor, a man who had once been part of my life. A chill ran down my spine. I quickly left the cafe, overwhelmed by fear. Not long after, I began receiving anonymous letters. Initially harmless, they gradually became more threatening. Although their origin was unclear, I knew they had to be linked to the professor. I tried to alert the police, but they said there was insufficient evidence to act. I decided to protect myself. I changed my phone number, moved to another city, and lived under a new name. My life now resembles a detective movie, always on high alert, fearing the past might suddenly reappear and destroy everything. One day, while at my new office, I accidentally noticed a photo pinned on the announcement board. It was about an upcoming seminar featuring several professors from the US, including him. My heart stopped for a moment. I knew I couldn't just sit back and wait for things to resolve themselves. I had to take action to sever all ties with the past once and for all. I began to plan, looking for ways to confront and prevent any schemes he might have. My story is not yet finished, and I know that one day all my secrets will be brought to light. Story 2. Tangled Ties. A Tinder twist of fate. Everything became extremely complicated when I decided to swipe on Tinder during my lunch break. In a distracted moment of swiping right, I connected with a man named Tommy. Tommy was handsome and academically distinguished. After a few days of chatting, we decided to meet. Our first meeting was incredibly impressive. Tommy was polite and extremely refined. I felt a spark after that outing and began to open up more. We continued to date and message each other on Tinder. Things seemed to be going well until one evening, while watching a movie at Tommy's house, I accidentally saw a picture on the wall, a graduation photo of Tommy with my parents. My heart skipped a beat at that moment. Memories flooded back, and I realized Tommy was actually David, my foster brother. I remembered having an involuntary brother. Flashing back to when I was born after many years of my mother's miscarriages, my parents, overjoyed, visited a nearby orphanage to do charity work. There they met David, my foster brother. David, with his sharp intellect and strong personality, quickly caught my parents' attention. They expressed a desire to adopt David and were successful. However, the relationship between us was always a bit awkward. As I grew up, he tended to cling to me, always wanting to spend time with me. Initially, I thought it was brotherly affection, but gradually I started to feel uncomfortable with his excessive closeness. After I turned 7, David was sent abroad to study, and I hadn't seen him since then, nor did I know what he looked like growing up. My parents only mentioned that he had found his biological parents. Facing my brother at this moment, David bluntly admitted that he had intentionally deceived me because he couldn't stand being just a foster brother in my eyes. He wanted more, to possess me, to have me for himself. He said that both of us were of marriageable age and this was the best time for him to come back to see me. Isn't it crazy? I was terrified by the madness in my brother's eyes. But I tried to remain calm, attempting to explain that our relationship could not happen, but he would not accept it. On my way home, I was extremely confused and worried. I decided to tell my parents everything. When I got home, I found my parents sitting in the living room, looking at me worriedly. It turned out that David had contacted my parents a few weeks earlier, expressing a desire to reconnect with the family. My parents, concerned about David's state of mind, had tried to help him, but they never imagined things would go this far. A few days later, David sent me a long message, but I only remember the most haunting sentence: "I will die if you don't marry me." He was truly insane. Terrified of this person, I organized a fake but lavish wedding in hopes of extinguishing his hopes. Contrary to expectations, he continued to haunt me more than the scariest ghosts. I didn't know what to do next other than to seek legal intervention, but his biological father was a very prominent figure in politics. It was the first time I cried so much in front of my parents. However, on a normal night, as I was thinking of ways to deal with David, I received news that he had died in a car accident. My mother was the one who told me, mixed feelings of joy and sorrow intertwined. Joyful because I was finally free from him, sorrowful because he was also my foster brother, and especially because I had once loved him. However, I suspect that David's sudden death was not accidental. I do not want to delve too deep, for now I have been liberated. Story 3. Secrets in the Basement. The Hidden Life of 𝐒𝐚𝐥. 𝐒𝐚𝐥 and I were inseparable friends, having grown up together from birth. We shared everything, from small secrets to grand dreams. But one day, our friendship began to darken due to an unforeseen event. With her beautiful appearance and somewhat mysterious personality, 𝐒𝐚𝐥 was always the center of attention. However, her life was not as simple as it seemed. Strictly controlled by her parents, 𝐒𝐚𝐥 always felt constrained and lacked freedom. During a session on Tinder, 𝐒𝐚𝐥 connected with Alex, a charming 22-year-old with a strong personality. They quickly developed a deep relationship through online chats on Tinder. However, when 𝐒𝐚𝐥 wanted to introduce Alex to her parents, she faced vehement opposition. Her parents disapproved of the relationship for many reasons, from the age difference to Alex's family background. 𝐒𝐚𝐥 told me everything, and she was very upset. However, 𝐒𝐚𝐥 had a side that I could never have imagined was part of the friend I knew. She secretly allowed Alex to stay in the basement of her house. Moreover, they began planning a new life together, one without her parents' control. I was not aware of the specifics of their plan. One day, when I visited 𝐒𝐚𝐥's house as usual, I accidentally overheard a conversation between her and Alex. They were planning their freedom. I was enveloped by a chilling feeling as I heard phrases like "no other way" and "just one time." Fearing for the lives of the elderly couple who had treated me like their own child, I tried to persuade 𝐒𝐚𝐥 to break up with Alex. But things did not go as I hoped. Alex found out and assaulted me during a chance encounter outside, threatening to do something worse if I interfered in their lives again. Feeling scared and powerless, I decided that I had to do something to prevent a tragedy. I reported my suspicions to the police. However, without concrete evidence, my claims seemed like mere words. While the police began to keep an eye on 𝐒𝐚𝐥's house, I lived in constant worry. Everything came to a climax one night when the terrified screams of the elderly echoed through Emina's house. The police arrived just in time to see Alex and Emina attempting to escape. They had used poison to kill Emina's parents, but the plan was not fully successful, as Emina's mother managed to call for emergency help before her strength failed. That night left an indelible stain. If only I had taken more decisive actions, perhaps things would not have reached such a dire point. Story 4. Deadly Deceptions, a streamer's sinister game. I remember the moments when everything seemed to start falling apart from the time I began dating a famous streamer on Tinder. After so long evenings with sweet messages, I realized that to keep this man, I had to comply with all his demands. He didn't allow us to make our relationship public. We were limited to texting and a few secret dates at his hotel. But the truth came out when I discovered that he was not only dating me, but also many others on Tinder. However, he justified it by saying they were just his fans, exchanging greetings without intending any deeper relationships. After that, I became suspicious of everything, but my love for this man was so strong that I blindly trusted him. One day, my life completely changed when I found out I was pregnant. I dared not hope for support from my family, as they were the strictest people I knew. The fear and anxiety about their reaction when they found out the truth made it impossible for me to speak up. They would kill me. Meanwhile, my former boyfriend, who had promised to take care of me and the baby, was actually secretly carrying out sinister plans. I began to realize that I had been deceived and abandoned for a long time. I just did not want to admit it. He often came home very late with the scent of unfamiliar women's perfume. Each meal he cooked for me became increasingly suspicious. Worrying about my health and the babies made it impossible for me to ignore any longer. At first, I secretly took a portion of the food for testing, and when I received the results, I was truly shocked. The food was completely normal. I dared not doubt my sixth sense was wrong, but further tests continued to yield the same results. I felt terrible for wrongly blaming him. Until one night, when my former boyfriend came home drunk and collapsed on the sofa. Suddenly, a message from an unknown number appeared on his phone. Initially, I didn't pay much attention, but that number kept sending urgent messages. I cleverly unlocked his phone using his fingerprint and discovered an unimaginable truth. My suspicions were correct. The messages on his phone showed that he had hired someone to monitor all my movements, and that wasn't all. The more I read, the more horrified I became when I learned that he had bribed all the doctors to alter the test results before I could know the real ones. The actual results left me stunned and terrified. The food contained a small amount of poison enough to be fatal if ingested over time. I couldn't believe what I was reading, but the signs and my suspicions were finally confirmed. Everything was clear, and I had to act quickly to protect myself and the baby. It seems my former boyfriend had forgotten that my family has a long tradition of working in the field of toxicology. I secretly did the same to his food, but with a different poison, one that even forensic scientists could not detect. After his death, I successfully gave birth to a little 𝐒𝐤𝐤. Now I have my happiness. Although I had a child with my former lover, my current husband loves me very much, and of course he is not allowed to know about my dark past. Don't forget to like and subscribe our channel so you won't miss out any creepy tales and scary adventures in the upcoming videos. This is Socy Dark Talks. Stay curious and embrace the darkness.